You're listening to the Cambridge Insider Podcast. On today's episode, hosts Stephen and Mariah are joined by Cambridge Network's host recruitment managers, Kristy and Leanna. This episode is sponsored by the Calverton School. Fostering a culture of respect, high expectations, and shared experiences, the Calverton School instills in students intellectual curiosity, personal responsibility, and strong work ethic to prepare them for higher education and responsible citizenship in a democratic and global community. Thanks for listening.
Cambridge Insider Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cambridge Insider Podcast. Excited because we have a full house as we record this episode today. But as always, let's start with Mariah Thompson, co-host. How are you?
I'm doing good. It is crazy that this will be almost in May when we post this episode, which is we're reaching to the end of the school year. So to our listeners who have stuck it out all year, we've made it to almost the end of the school year, which is crazy.
Congratulations for sticking it out.
Thank you, everyone.
Just so many positive stories doing the rounds about students that are, getting close to graduation. Some of them, summer plans, just students that are doing awesome things and have enjoyed some of them their first year, some of them their second, some of them their final year in the US. And it's great to see just our Cambridge students excelling in all their different walks of life. So let's get straight into it. I mentioned a full house. We have two guests with us today, both host recruitment managers here at Cambridge Network. Some of our older listeners may remember Leanna Glass, who was, one of our co-hosts of the Cambridge Insider Podcast a couple of months, maybe a couple of years ago, if my memory serves me. Leanna, how are you?
I'm good. It's good to be back.
That's it. I'm sure some of our listeners have missed the voice, so it's good to have you on today. And then one of our other colleagues on the West Coast, Kristy Sotelo. Kristy, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. And I'm going to quickly just mention a little something about hosts because from the Cambridge side, we've done a really big push in the last 12 months or so, maybe even longer, to really focus on the host experience. Understanding that when students have a great experience in the host home, where they spend the majority of their time when they are in the US, that they ultimately, it's very likely that they're going to have a great experience in their school year. It's such an integral part of their experience as a whole that, at Cambridge, we really started focusing on what is that host experience like? Who are the hosts that we are recruiting? How can we improve that process so that we get the best of the best? And Mariah and I felt it was important to, get these two experts in our host world here with us to discuss a couple of things. Mariah?
Yeah, so I'm super excited to have Kristy and Leanna on today. I really enjoy working with both of them. If you're a school that's listening, you probably have been in touch with these two as well. If you've been onboarded in the last year and a half, you've probably been onboarded by Leanna, and then this last year, Kristy. So they really are a joy to work with. So we're excited to have them come on and just give us a little bit inside the process of host recruitment, what that looks like for if you are a host family currently or looking to become a host family, or if you are a school wanting to just know more about what they are looking for in hosts or what the process is like. This will give you the inside scoop on what that is. And so just like a normal episode, we're just going to have some questions and we're going to hear from them. So for this first question, I'm going to ask Leanna, and this is for our current host family. So they're already onboarded. Maybe they have a student with them, or if they were unmatched this year and looking to maybe get another student next year, what would be the best thing for them to be doing in this season as we're closing this school year and we're getting ready to onboard another school year in the fall?
Yeah, so as Stephen said, our host communities and host families are a super integral part to a student experience when they're studying abroad in the US and at one of our partner schools. They're spending a majority of the time with their host family, and it makes such a big impact on their experience. So what we are focusing on right now is what we call host re-enrollment season, where we're checking in with all of our current existing host families who have already been approved to host. we're checking in with them to see their availability and their interest in hosting for next school year. So it sounds pretty basic, and it is very simple. We're basically just making sure we're checking in with you, seeing if you have a bedroom available, or if you do have multiple, how many bedrooms you have available. We're making sure that your host record is up to date. So we want to make sure that all of the home photos listed on your profile are still accurate. We want to make sure that if you have added a pet to the home, or grandma has moved out of the home, that we have all the accurate animals and people listed for your household. And essentially just ensuring that your host profile is accurate, because when students select a host family, they're basing it solely basically off of that profile that they're viewing. So that's their chance to really get a glimpse into what day-to-day life living with you will be like. So we want to make sure that's up to date. One of the biggest things on there is, how is the student going to get to and from school? So we're also asking you, where will they be using a school bus? Will you be driving them? And basically, to do that, you just need to make sure that you're responding to emails, texts, or phone calls from us. We are reaching out to all of our host families in one of those ways throughout the next month, and we have been for the past month as well. So even if you're not available, it's really important that you just reply to those messages so that we can update your status. If you want to take a year off, totally fine. We call that being retired for the year. So we just want to make sure our records are accurate. So just get in touch with us and make sure you're touching base to do that.
Yeah, that's super helpful to know. It's not just a simple yes or no. Sometimes when it's re-enrolling, it's just checking the boxes and make sure everything is still the same, or if it's different, we can update it. But I also do want to say, if you are a current host family and you're re-enrolling, or if you are going to consider retiring, we just want to say thanks. Thanks for sticking it out with us. And thanks for always pointing us into new directions for future hosts. And with that being said, Kristy, I wanted to ask you for this season, if there is someone listening, or maybe they know someone that would want to become a future host, what does that process look like? How long does it take? What does it entail for someone becoming a host?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the first thing that someone who is interested can do to be considered for a host family is go to our website. We have a tab on there where you can submit an inquiry form, which is essentially where you're just including some of your personal information, your phone number, email, and also your zip code. That is the way for you to basically get into our system so that Leanna and I can view you. Once your information is in there, you will hear from Leanna or I, based on where you live, and we will reach out to schedule a phone screen. And during the phone screen, we have a conversation about you and your family. We learn a little bit more about your home. We talk about Cambridge Network, what the process is, what the hosting expectations are. And then once we're done with that and you decide that you'd like to move forward, we'll send you a link to complete the application. The application is pretty straightforward. It covers some of what we discussed in the phone call. In fact, you'll probably see some of our notes in that application pre-populated, but it will also want to verify gender preferences, duration, things like that. There's also a section for you to upload some photos of your home, and it's pretty specific with the areas that need to be photographed. It's mostly common areas, the student bedroom, things like that. And the last section asks for a couple of references. So once you get your application in, you will then be contacted to initiate a background check. Super easy. You can do it online, doesn't cost anything. And it's a pretty quick turnaround. Once that's in and we have that marked as approved, we will reach out to schedule a virtual site visit. In the virtual site visit, you'll meet with, usually it's Matt, but sometimes we have other people step in and help with those. But during this, it's really a sort of an interview where he'll ask some specific questions about the home. You'll probably, as the potential host, have questions for him as well. He'll ask that you flip your camera and walk through those common areas of your home that you photographed. And once you're done with that, you'll be marked as an approved host, and we can sort of begin our matching process. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and then for the matching process, it doesn't mean that like as soon as you get your application, it doesn't mean that you'll have a student like in a week or so. Sometimes it takes a little bit.
Yeah, it does take a little bit, and we can also never guarantee that you're going to get a student. Essentially, the way that it works is once your host family profile is complete, students who will be attending the school that's closest to you will be able to look at your profile as a potential host family to live with. And once they've decided that they would like to live with you, they let us know. We reach out to you to make sure that nothing's changed, and we organize a move-in date. Um, we have, obviously, as Leanna mentioned, we're preparing for the upcoming school year, which happens in the fall. And we have students who are already selecting their families in preparation for the fall, but we also have students who will be selecting their families a month before they arrive.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it really can happen at any time.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and so not only is this the perfect time for our current hosts to re-enroll, this is a really good time to have our new host families get onboarded. So everything's set in place and you can begin the matching process to see if there's a student in the fall. And it gives you a lot of time to prepare. If you know ahead of time, you can take the summer to prepare and even may have the chance to might even get to know your student before they come to your house. So I would say right now seems to be a really good ideal time to get everything in place so you're not in a rush when your student comes.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of schools that listen. Leanna, I'm curious, if I were a school looking around my community or thinking through, oh, my students definitely need some host families, what would be your ideal host that I should be looking for or keeping my eye out for? Yeah.
Great question. And a lot of our schools, I'm sure, have already been in touch with Kristy and I to discuss this. But as Stephen mentioned, we've been doing over the last few years really a deep dive into finding out the statistical relevance to why students re-enroll at certain schools and why certain students are happier with certain host families over others. And what we've found is that school affiliated host families really make the best match for our students. And this is because they are parents of students who may be attending the school currently, or they might be alumni who are still affiliated to the school in some way, but they have a really great grasp on the school community already, the school values, school expectations, and they're just integrated in the community already in a way that can really, really benefit students when they first arrive and they're brand new to the school, to have a host family that is already so well versed on all things, uniform, schedule, drop off and pick up, extracurriculars, clubs and activities. It makes such a massive difference in the student experience. And not to mention how much the students' parents appreciate knowing that they're going to a host family that is so ready to support them at that school, particularly. So, when we're talking about what schools can do to help us in recruitment, it's really bridging us to your parent community and getting the word out to parents who are currently affiliated with their school. And then one step beyond parents is your alumni community. So really anyone who has an existing relationship with the school already are the people we want to target to potentially become host parents.
Yeah, that's so good to highlight to specifically the alumni, because a lot of the times these parents, their kids are going off to college and then they have the empty bed. So if we're looking for someone that is in the community, that is a really good place to start. Kristy, for those who are listening and they're hearing everything and if they're like, hey, I have someone in mind, can you share with them our amazing host referral program?
Yes, yeah. We love referrals. So anyone you know who has thought about this or who, as Mariah shared, may have just empty rooms available in their home, they can also go to our website. We have a link to refer a host family. Same thing, it's pretty similar to the inquiry form. You just need to submit their name and then some form of contact, whether it's an email or a contact number. Um, And it'll follow the same process. Their information will then show up for Leanna and I will reach out to them to get them scheduled for a discovery call and just sort of explain what the expectations are. We'll cover the stipend, all of that good stuff. But for the referrer, they will receive a $500 referral bonus for every family that is referred and matched with a student for 30 plus days. And there's no limit. So anyone you know who is matched, you will receive that $500 for as many people as, again, that are matched.
So good. I'm always thinking.
Yeah.
Because who doesn't want $500? It's just like a no-brainer.
Right.
Yeah, and it's such a good added note for alumni too, because a lot of alumni might not live in the school's town anymore, but chances are you can think of a lot of friends and family that you do still know from your hometown who might have an open bedroom available. So that's another reason we really want to target alumni communities of schools.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet. That is all the questions I have. Was there any other comment or thing you guys wanted to say before we pass it back to Stephen to wrap us up?
I just had one other note just to really push that it is a great time to get your host family application in if you are newly interested in becoming a host family. You don't want to finally apply and get through our onboarding process and then learn that all of the students at the school you're closest to have already selected a host family for next year. So you really want to get the application in or get your re-enrollment complete if you're an existing host family, and make sure that we can set your status to active so that you have the best possible chance of matching for the fall. And as Mariah said, it doesn't mean that you're going to get a student tomorrow moving in with you. It just means that you can have the ability to match for the fall and then spend the entire summer getting to know a student over Zoom or over WeChat and getting your home ready for them. So now is really the time to get this process started, and we want to get you students if you're ready for one and you have a bedroom available.
Actually, one final note too, along the same lines. Let's say you're a family who is interested in this, but maybe this year isn't the best year for you, or you really don't want to be considered for the fall because of travel or what have you. It still would make sense to get your application in. We can get you through the process and we can mark you on hold until you're ready. And then when the time feels right, we can reactivate that, and you'll just be that further ahead once you are ready.
That's such a good point.
Awesome. Guys,
Great.
Makes my job so much easier when I just get people who know what they're talking about, just experts in what they do. So Kristy, Leanna, thank you both very, very much for sharing your expertise. I'm sure we have hosts listening that now understand the process a lot better. I do want to make a note personally to all of our schools, just to understand that when you have students that are having a great time, they are likely to re-enroll. So schools, I know, focus a lot on the numbers. Who is re-enrolling?
Yeah.
You know, we got to meet budgets. So these are important things. These are these small details that we can look after, make sure that we have a great host community so that students have an excellent time and that they want to come back to our school, and that they say to everybody else that they live in their communities back home, we had such a great time living there. You guys should give that program a go. Mariah, I appreciate you also asking questions. I feel like I've been a little bit useless in this episode, but you know, that happens. Any final thoughts from your side?
You keep us all together, Stephen. We need you. That's okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
Yeah, just final thought. If you're a school and you haven't connected with Kristy or Leanna, chances are you probably have an email waiting for them in your email. So connect with them. We would really appreciate it.
Yes, definitely.
Please.
Absolutely. To all of our listeners, we appreciate you listening. Remember to like, listen, subscribe, share the podcast. If you have any questions, in our show notes, you can contact us, and we'll catch you around the next episode of the Cambridge Insider podcast. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Cambridge Insider podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel to never miss an episode. For more Cambridge updates, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Have a great week and stay connected.